All right, hello REE Mechanical. Got another video for you. This one is about completing quoted work. One of the biggest things is, when you first start becoming a technician and getting into this, there's no, there's ways to complete jobs, but the logistics behind completing the jobs is completely different, not only from company to company, but from store to store. And there's no real guidelines that anybody says this is how you get it done. In my experience, completing the quoted work and getting all the logistical sides done takes up just as much effort and sometimes time as actually completing the mechanical work, replacing motors, compressors, pulleys, cleaning coils, different things like that. It takes up just as much time, if not more, and it's really important because that is actually the stuff that'll really slow you down the most. Is not having a plan and really just kind of going into it blind. So let's just get right into it here. Completing quoted work, I kind of separated it into three separate sections, right? You got your pre-game plan, you got your action plan, and your post-game plan. So your pre-game plan, right? Completing quoted work efficiently starts the night before. You must be looking at your dispatches the night before. You can't go in blind. You guys got to have an idea of what you're doing the next day. For the most part, I'd say 90 to 95% of the time, our dispatcher has your work for the next day set by 2 o'clock or so, and you should be looking at that throughout the day, taking a look at what your tomorrow is going to look like, and just having an idea. I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with guys that don't look until that morning. I don't know how you would go to sleep the night before without knowing what you're going to do that next day. So take a look at your dispatch, especially, right when you get home, even before you get out of your truck. Just take a look at it, read it, have an idea of what you're doing, where your parts are, who you're working with if you are, what time you're going to meet, things like that. So, do you need truck stock to complete the job, nitrogen, acetylene, refrigerant, have all this stuff kind of going through your mind. Who's picking up the parts? If there are two technicians on a job, Desco only shows the invoice to the first technician who's downloaded it. It's been a problem for years. Procedure now is for Heather, our dispatcher, to send both of you guys, both technicians, a quote if there's more than one technician on a job, to alleviate any confusion and to just kind of help be part of the solution a little bit more. That way you guys both have an understanding of what you need to get done, where all the parts go as far as what unit is, and everyone's on the same page as far as communication goes. So if that does not happen, please let Heather know. If you can't get a hold of Heather, obviously let me know, and I will get you that quote soon. So once you get to the supply house, right? So obviously you're going to update your status to traveling if applicable, because maybe the supply house was an hour and a half away and you're already on traveling, right? But when getting out of your truck to the supply house, take stock of your gases. Check your truck stock list for any parts you need from that supply house, because you're there. You might as well utilize that time. Let the counter person know what PO you're there to pick up. I always when I'm getting there, at least when they're already open and maybe they've been open for half an hour, I'd call them ahead and just let them know. So hopefully they can go and pull your order, because I hated wasting time at the supply house. There's a lot of guys that you'll see every time you go to the supply house and they're sitting on the stool. I don't remember a single time I ever sat on one of their stools that they had inside of the supply house. If I was going to spend my time during the day somewhere, it was not sitting at the supply house. It wasn't what I really wanted to do. So calling ahead, seeing if they can pull your parts a little early, that's always real helpful. But don't add truck stock to PO. You guys all should have after hours POs to use, or during business hours, or let's say 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Most of the time I'm here. If you ran out of after hours POs, or you just need a new PO, shoot me a text, see if I'm in the office, or even if I'm at home working that day. I could probably help you out with a new PO. But do not just add truck stock to the PO, because that PO for that job specific that you're picking up That means that all of those parts are going to get imported onto the invoice and costed to that job. They're also going to get removed out of our inventory, so it's just going to be really confusing. Verify that all parts are there and determine condition of everything, right? Open your motor boxes, spin your shafts, inspect all parts. This extra step will, it's going to save you time in the long run. If all parts aren't there, immediately call the dispatcher, because there's no right or wrong answer to it. If you have a majority of the parts, we may want you to continue with the work because maybe it needs to get done. If you are missing major parts of it, we may call the job off. You could be missing one part and it's not that significant, but if we don't have them all, then maybe we're going to have you go do something else. So as soon as they let you know that the parts are not all there, immediately call the dispatcher and let the dispatcher decide how your day's going. So job site, right? Obviously, right when you get to your job site, before you get out of your truck, update your status to working. Get all your equipment, your tools, your parts, your gases, and whatever else you need to the roof. Don't think you're saving time by getting your recovery machine on the roof first and then coming back for everything else. Save your energy, same thing, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. You need multiple ropes, hooks on both sides of the ropes, long ropes, short ropes. If you have one rope in your van, you need more ropes. It will come in handy eventually. I've looked at all the stuff that I've been taking up to roofs over the years, and if you lay it all out at the bottom of the ladder, man, it is a huge pile of things. Your recovery machine, your recovery tank, your vacuum pump, your refrigerant, your scale, your torch set, your hand tools, any new parts that you have. It is a lot of things. So having multiple ropes and saving trips up and down the ladder is huge, and you want to do that. So make sure you have multiple ropes, different ropes with hooks. When you're talking to other technicians or you're working with other technicians, look at their ropes, ask them where they got their hooks. Most experienced technicians have used different hooks over the years and experimented with filter box grabbers and things like that. But utilize some of their experience. They're more than willing to help you out and let you know exactly what you need. But I promise you need more than one rope. You will eventually need more than one rope, and it's just going to help you with less and less trips down the ladder. So once on the roof, come up with and/or verify your plan to complete all your work, right? Who's doing what? What are you starting with? Work on one unit at a time. But let's lay it all out. Let's okay, hey, you're going to start on the compressor, you're going to start on the condenser fan motor repair. When I say work on one unit at a time, I mean work on one unit per person at a time. If the job calls for 2 people to work on that one unit, obviously we got to do that. But what I don't want is guys bouncing around and diagnosing different things. Let's say you have 3 units to diagnose. Don't diagnose this one, and this one all at the same time. Let's figure out what's going on with one at a time. That way we can keep all our information straight. I get a lot of phone calls and guys are bouncing all around. Well, I got this one doing this one doing this one doing this, and it can get really confusing. So find the answers and then move on to the next one, or complete the repair and move on to the next one. You'll kind of see through experience, what jobs you should start first, right? Obviously, when you get up there, you got to recover a couple units. Well, let's get our recovery machines on those units first, and then, determine what we're going to do in what order, but have a plan. Don't just figure out your plan as you go, because your day can always change. We want to get the most amount of work done in the most time-efficient manner, and if you guys don't have a plan, it's not going to work. So multiple leak repairs, don't be just walking around the roof with your nitrogen and soap bubbles. Kind of what I mean by that is, let me go back here. Oh, never mind, it will not let me go back. But don't just pressurize here, pressurize there. Pressurize one at a time, get that one settled. When that one's in a vacuum, then you can move on to your next one. But don't just be skipping all around the roof. Have a plan. Both of you or more than one technician, stick to that plan. It's going to serve you in the long run. So what if questions, right? What if you run into another problem that is not on the quote, right? First thing we want to do, obviously, is we want to complete all the quoted work first, and then time pending get to the new issues, right? So let's say we replace a condenser fan motor, right? We start the unit up, and then we're low on charge. Well, we still have 3 other condenser fan motors to replace or some pulleys to replace. We want to get to those. It's been almost, normally during the summer, you're gonna have a few months during the actual service call, and then the repair for some of these minor things or some of these things that they said we could wait on. Um, we need to complete the work that's already been quoted. They've already approved before we look into new problems. We don't want to get stuck on a new issue. You know, I'll have guys calling me after a couple hours of them saying, "Hey, I'm trying to diagnose this unit," and I'm like, "I don't see that on this quote at all. You know, we need to get this other work done. You still got about 4 or 5 more hours worth of work, and you only got about 2 hours in the workday. So don't get stuck on a problem. Let's complete as much as we possibly can before we zero in on an issue that we're having. You're there to complete a quoted job. When things come up that are outside that scope of work, we can address those, but time pending, right? We got to complete all the work that we're there to complete first, then we can address the other issues. So if multiple, the same thing, right? That came up again, right? If multiple leak repairs, don't be walking around your roof with your nitrogen and your soap bubbles. Same thing if that comes up after the fact. Complete everything first, then time pending, go back. What I mean by time pending is you got 3 hours left on the quoted job and you finished everything else. All right, let's go back and let's look at the new issue. So same thing, some more what ifs, right? What if you run into an issue upon startup of the equipment you just performed quoted work on, right? You want to call our lead technician and let them know and talk to them about what to do, right? If it's a minor issue, we're there for a $5,000 repair and it's a $10 part, we may just want to do it. You know, call your lead technician, let them help you decide that answer in that moment, right? What if you run into an issue, you're working with another tech and you both have different lead technicians, because this happens all the time. This happened a couple weeks ago. One of our lead techs was out for the day, and so I was kind of standing in, and one of the techs was on the phone with Mike, and the other technician was on the phone with me, and I was like, who's he talking to? He's like, he's Mike. I was like, about the same problem? And they said, yes. And I was like, okay, let's not do that anymore, right? So defer to the lead tech with more experience, right? If your lead tech is Josh, and you know your partner's lead tech is Mike, just go ahead and give Mike a call, and you guys both can kind of determine. You know, feel free to let Josh in on kind of what went on that day, maybe on your way home or whatnot. But let's defer to the lead tech with more experience, and only defer to one lead tech. Let's not ask guys the same question. Two different guys the same question, and you know, go with the solution that you like more. That's not how it works. So post-game plan, right? We completed all our jobs, right? Clean while you work. Put all used parts, equipment, trash by roof hatch throughout your day, and as you finish with the units you are working on. Rope everything down at once. That's a huge thing, right? As you complete a unit, let's not just leave trash all around. You know, a couple different reasons, right? Wind can just blow your trash across the roof. You know, I think we've all chased trash across a roof before, and we don't want to do that. And it just keeps your job site clean. I've tripped over way too many things just standing up, braising something, stand back, take a step back, and you trip backwards and fall backwards onto your wrists, onto your butt, whatever it is. But make sure that your job area is clean. You know, if that unit is 100% done and operational, let's clean it up. Make sure there's no screws, anything but around the unit, and all trash is picked up. Rope everything down at once. You know, you want to keep everything right by the roof hatch as soon as you're done with it. If that old compressor is done and sealed, go put it right by the roof hatch. Go put your torch set and your vacuum pump and your recovery machine, everything right by the roof hatch, so that way everything's in one general area. You know, if you're forgetting things and going down to the truck multiple times throughout the day, don't bother bringing something with you every time. Save your energy, save your time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. My very first compressor that I did, I ended up, I thought I was a genius, and every time I would go down to the truck to go get something, whether it was a fitting or more brazing rods, because I didn't know what I was doing yet, and of course I needed 18 trips down to the truck. Well, as soon as I took my, you know, trip down to the truck, I'd be like, okay, I'm bringing my recovery machine, I'm bringing my recovery tank. You know, to the point to where when I was starting my unit up, I believe I only had my refrigerant tank with my new refrigerant and a scale and my hand tools up on the roof. And as soon as I started that unit, it started in heat, and I wasn't that great at brazing, and the discharge line blew off, and here I was, you know, Friday at 2 o'clock, and I pretty much got to, do a leak repair, and I'm not experienced enough to get through it quick, so I had to go back down, get all my things, bring everything back up. I learned my lesson that day that until that unit is operational, until I'm done with the job, I'm going to keep all my equipment, all my tools right next to the roof hatch. I'm not going to bring anything down to my truck until that unit is operating and I'm ready to leave the site. Use my experience in your life, and do that same thing. The 1 or 2 times where something bad happens, it's going to save you quite a bit of time, quite a bit of headache from getting everything down from the truck again. So once you get down to your truck, obviously put all your equipment, your tools back, and organize into your van. Spend that extra 5 minutes putting everything back where it belongs. That is important. It's just going to save you so much headache. I see guys, get done from a job site and they just throw all their shit right into their truck. Be better than that. Throw as much away as you can on site. Don't keep used parts on your truck if you can help it. Obviously, double check that they're not warranty. Double check your dispatch and your invoice. Make sure you don't have to return anything. But take a few minutes and organize your truck. Put your tools back where it needs to be. Put your ladders back where they need to be. Make sure you're on the same page with your fellow technician. Don't let your apprentice or whoever's helping you just put anything back, show them where everything goes. All of your vans all have bins in them, and they're all labeled a certain way, right? A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K. I think we go to M. Actually, I think it's S now. We have quite a few bins. So if you guys have extra parts that you didn't use, where that part goes in your truck, that's where it goes in someone else's truck. That bin remains the same. I'm sure there's vacuum pumps. People like their vacuum pumps in different areas, but everybody has tank holders for their nitrogen and acetylene and CO2. Help those guys out. If you're putting something in somebody else's truck, don't just set it in there. Spend that extra time, put it back in the right spot. If you don't know where it goes, ask them. You guys are here to help each other out. You're on the same team. Spend the extra 5 minutes cleaning your van to make sure that you're ready for that next call or quoted job or PM, whatever you're going on next. Clean yourself off, clean your face, be presentable. You can ask John. My first 3 or 4 years, I always thought, if I had a dirty face, it looked like I was doing a lot and I was busy. No, I just looked like a technician with a dirty face. It was really tough for me to keep my face clean for some reason, but it definitely it helps if you have a clean face, you have clean hands, and you look really presentable when you go talk to the manager, right? Check out with the manager and just obviously we're gonna proceed to our next job at that point. That's really it as far as running procedures on quoted work. Being safe, that's hands down the most important thing. It's one thing that you guys need to kind of stay on top of, just obviously refer back to anything that you need help on in this video. Call me with any questions. A lot of what we do, there's black, white, there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of decisions that you guys got to make on your own. Obviously everybody that works here, we hire you for your common sense. You have common sense to make common sense based decisions. Use your head. That is the number one thing. If it looks unsafe, it's probably unsafe. Stop what you're doing, call your supervisor, call myself, call somebody at the company, and let's put our heads together and find a way to make something safe, make something efficient, and do whatever it takes to get the job done safely, professionally, responsibly, and on time. Have a great day. Thanks.